My name is Zach and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing 3 of my most anticipated releases of this year in one single video. So the beginning of the year, there's a lot of really good books coming out. And so in today's video, I am going to review 3 of my most anticipated ones from that list. So welcome to my new filming space. I think that this will be a space that I go back and forth from my downstairs to my upstairs, which I just renovated. And because of the renovations, it's very empty up here, which means there might be an echo that you all notice. Don't worry, that will go away as we fill in the space. So just bear with me. But I'm very excited to be in a new space. And you can see I've got some nice decorations behind me. This will give me a better space to vlog and update where it's quiet away from the dogs, which are actually barking downstairs. But yeah, welcome to my new space. I'm very excited. And this is the first video that I'm filming up here. I did test the audio and I heard the echo. And there are some tricks and tips that I can do to kind of limit that, but bear with me while I make this space better and better. And I'm very, very, very grateful to be up here and very excited. Okay, if you haven't already, subscribing to my channel helps me out a ton. A like on the video goes a long way. And I would love to know, have you all read any of these books? Are you excited for any of these books? Like, what do you think of my reviews? I'm very excited to share these with you guys in the hopes of helping educate. Do you want to buy this book? Would you rather get it from the library? Etc., etc. So welcome to one of my review videos and one that I've been very excited to do this year. Okay, without further ado, why don't we just jump right into the books and I start telling you about them so you can decide if they're for you or not. So the first book that I want to talk about today is called Murder Road by Simone St. James. This is probably in my top 5 most anticipated releases of the year. Simone St. James is an author that is tried and true to me. I have loved all of her recent thrillers. I did go back and try to read some of her backlist books, but they're more historical, and I didn't love the historical aspects in her books. That's just not something that I enjoy. But her newer ones, which are more horror, thriller, paranormal, they're amazing. Simone St. James does a really good job of pacing and characters, twisty endings, but they're not too twisty. Okay, so let me not get ahead of myself and tell you the basic premise of this book. So this book right here is like, I don't even think it's like supposed to be. Well, I don't know. It takes place in 1995, which is the year that I was born, actually. And it does really remind me of a lot of 90s horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I Know What You Did Last Summer, those sorts of things. That is like the vibe throughout this entire book, and I ate it up. The atmosphere is amazing. So let me just tell you a very basic plot. You don't need to know a lot going into this book, but we are entered into the lives of Eddie and April, and they have just gotten married. It's 1995. Eddie has been overseas fighting in the war, and he has pretty significant PTSD from that. They've just gotten married. They're going on this trip. They're on their honeymoon, and they take a wrong turn. And on that wrong turn, they enter onto something that is, you'll come to find out, and it's in the synopsis, not a spoiler, but this is like Murder Road. Like it's a place where hitchhikers and college students and people go missing and die all the time. It's a notorious road, but they don't know that just yet. They're going to find that out though. So while they take this wrong turn, they're driving down this road, they actually end up picking up a hitchhiker who is dying. This person has very clearly been running away from something horrible. In fact, they can see the truck that she's been running away from in their rearview mirror. So they kind of snatch her up and they take her to the hospital, and when they take her to the hospital, they become suspects in the case. And so because of that, they are forced to stay in this town until the investigation is over. Because they are forced to stay there, they actually end up taking part in the investigation, trying to clear their name. So they're trying to figure out what happened to this girl, like what is the lore and the legend behind this town. Let me tell you, this is an amazing book. It is a new favorite. I gave it 6 stars. It did not let me down. I was very concerned because I have such high hopes for Simone St. James's books that I was like, please, please, please do not let this book let me down. I'm so excited for it. It was so good. I do also need to say thank you to Penguin Random House Audio. They gave me an early copy of this to listen on audio, and it was amazing. Brittany Presley is the narrator of this, and she is my favorite narrator. I highly recommend that you check this out on audio. It is the way to go. And so thank you so much to Penguin Random House Audio for giving me early access to this. I was so freaking excited because one of my most anticipated releases of the year. Yeah, you definitely need to check out this book. It is very, very good. I would love to know if you read it, what you end up thinking about it. The atmosphere is incredible. The plot twists are amazing. There's mental health rep. There's early relationship conversations. It's just so good. Small town vibes too, because Eddie and April have ended up stuck in this small town. And so they end up staying with a lady who is like also notorious in the town or infamous. Everybody says that she's really weird and like there's some lore and some legend behind her and some mystery. There's just so much to discover in this town, and I can't wait for you guys to read it. It's amazing. My favorite book in this video, but not by much. I'm going to talk next about the runner up to this. 6 stars, amazing. Check it out. Okay, so right behind Murder Road and not by much, like teeny like nanoparticle away from Murder Road is Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This is an amazing book. So this is by the author of Ace of Spades, which was one of my favorite books the year it came out. Like it made my top 5, if not like top 3 list that year. I loved Ace of Spades. Oh, it was the author's debut novel, and it just blew me away. It was so freaking good. And one of the really important things about this author to know is that what she promises, you will get. And I don't always find that the case with books and authors. Like the setup for this book is exactly what you're going to get. Nothing more, nothing less. And honestly, I really appreciate that. So let me tell you a little bit about Where Sleeping Girls Lie. Also, I do want to say thank you to NetGalley. I actually got an early audio copy from Macmillan, and the audio is amazing. Just like with Murder Road, I highly recommend the audio. It's a good way to take in the story. The narrator is very engaging. It's very entertaining. So if you've been wondering about the audio, I did get a chance to review that, and it was amazing. Highly recommend. Okay, so let me give you the basic premise of this. If you liked Ace of Spades, you're going to love this book. This book is everything that I wish books that claim to be dark academia actually were, and this isn't even marketed as dark academia. I checked on Goodreads. I did not see any indications of that. So as far as I can tell, this is not being marketed as dark academia, and it is. This is everything that I wanted in dark academia books that have let me down in the past. So Where Sleeping Girls Lie is about a young student named Young. She's like entering new adult. She's like 17, 18. And her name is Sade, and she is going to this boarding school. She's entering her 3rd year of high school in this boarding school. It's a very famous boarding school called Alfred Academy, and it's very prestigious, very elite. There's a lot of elitism, like all the traditional dark academia things that you want in a book, you're gonna get here. So both of her parents are actually dead, and she's orphaned, showing up at this academy. But her family was very wealthy, and they left her a lot of money, and so she gets dropped off by like a driver. And needless to say, she does not have a lot of support when she's going into this academy, and that's part of the conversation around this book too. Anyways, when she gets there, she meets her roommate, and she meets her roommate's best friend, whose name is Baz. And they kind of hit it off early on. Like the beginning of the book has some Mean Girl vibes of like the very beginning of Mean Girls, where you have this new student at this new academy, and she's kind of being shown around and getting to know all of the different cliques and groups of people, because there are several different ones in the academy. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the glare of that. Sorry about that. Anyway, within like 24 hours, her roommate goes missing. And so the entire rest of the story is the mystery behind what happened to her roommate that she had just gotten to know. She had just met her, and people are suspicious of her because Sade is the new girl. They don't trust her. She's an outsider. She's different from them in a lot of ways. And so if you're different from people, then they start to think that you're suspicious or bad. And you just enter into this dark, dark world where there's like mysterious society and all different kinds of things. I don't want to tell you anything else. This is just such a good story all the way through. The pacing was perfect. I think for some people, they're going to find it a little bit slow, but I loved that. We got to know the characters. There are different people that you start to suspect. She has relationships, different kinds of relationships with different kinds of people from different backgrounds and all different kinds of things. Like this book is an adventure all the way through, and I loved it. I ate this book up. Every time I wasn't reading it, I wanted to be reading it. And the cover, like look at this cover. This is a book that I should have like facing out on my shelves because I'm obsessed with this cover. There's mental health representation. There's just so much in this book. The plot twist is good. It's expected in some ways, but not so much that you're like, oh, that was frustrating. I saw that coming. But you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting an inclination of what's happening, and that slowly unfolds over time. There are not too many twists and turns. Like Murder Road, the ending made sense. It was satisfying. It was fulfilling. It was everything that I wanted it to be. Loved this book. I gave it 5 stars, very close to a new favorite. But there was a point like about 3/4 in that I felt the book really start to slow down, but it wasn't enough for me to name it less than a 5 star. I loved this book all the way through to the end. 5 stars, amazing, pick it up. If you haven't read Ace of Spades, you need to read Ace of Spades, not in order to read this, just because you're missing out on a good book. But yeah, these are completely separate. But if you have read Ace of Spades, you know what to expect, and I would say that this book is even better than Ace of Spades. The final book that I am going to review in this video is called Diavola, and I actually don't have a physical copy of this, but I did get it on NetGalley. This is releasing on March 26th from Tor Publishing. So this was a book that I first heard about towards the end of last year, 2023, and it was shaped to me to be something that was a haunted house story that was going to be really hilarious. And so a lot of the marketing behind it has been that it, again, haunted house story, it's supposed to be really funny and that sort of thing. So let me give you the basic setup. We have a main character who is going on a family reunion / family vacation in Italy. And she travels there and meets up with her family, where she has some pretty complicated family dynamics. And they're all renting this house in this like old Italian village. And very quickly, our main character starts to notice some weird things happening in the house, like some scratching on the walls. And there's this tower that is locked that like nobody can go into. And like they're like, well, we want to get access to this tower. And a lot of the story is about family dynamics, feeling like the black sheep in your family, and like what it's like to go on a family reunion, family vacation. There are some like literary elements in that aspect, but the main mystery surrounds this house and like why there's weird happenings in this house. So it's very much a haunted house story, and that's really all you need to know going into it, is that we have this main character that feels like a black sheep, and she's on this family reunion at this haunted house. That's like the basic setup, basic premise of the story. Unfortunately, I ended up DNFing this story at about 30% in. There was so much that I related to with the main character feeling like a black sheep, feeling like an outcast, but it moved so slow, and some of the family dynamics like really irritated me. They're not realistic. They're very realistic. Like, families are complicated. People are not always mature. They do little things to bicker and argue, and we definitely got a lot of that in the story, but it's not what I wanted. Like, and this is a me thing. So when I DNF'd this, I still gave it 3 stars, because it's not fair for me to DNF a book because it's not what I expected or it's not what I wanted, but it was not enough to keep me going and for me to finish the book. I just didn't care about the characters anymore. The black sheep element, I was like, well, I would love to see her get revenge. I didn't care about what was happening in this house or why it was haunted or the horror elements. Like, this is a horror book, and I just did not care about the horror. It was moving too slowly. It's just something was off about this for me, and I don't really know what that is. I would love to know if other people have read this book, if they felt similar. I'm like not seeing a lot of reviews of it just yet. I've seen it on a lot of anticipated releases, but I haven't heard other people talk about it just yet. So I don't know if I'm in a minority. One of my friends, Chloe, read the book and she really liked it. Like, she liked the black sheep element. She liked the haunted house aspect. She liked the atmosphere. And I think she gave it like 4.5 stars. And we have pretty similar reading tastes. So I'm telling you her perspective because this could have been a me problem and just, it was the wrong time for me to read the book. I did consider putting it on my not right now shelf, meaning that I would get back to it later before I reviewed it. But the more I thought about it and the more I sat with the book, the more I was like, this just is not a story for me. And there are so many other books that I want to read that I just don't feel like pushing through. So I've given you the basic setup. I've given you some things that I didn't like about it, but someone that I know and trust really did like the story. So I would recommend you at least give it a try. This might be one that you get from the library. And on reflection, also, there was something about the writing and the descriptors that were used that like I just was not engaged. Like, it wasn't pulling me in and making me want to come back and pick it up. I started to dread it, and I waited a few days before I DNF'd it. I was like, well, maybe I just need to take a break or get some space from it. And to be fair to the story, I had just read The House of Last Resort, which is also a haunted house story of an old house in Italy. And so I felt like it was very similar to that, which is not fair to this book. I think I just read them too close together, but I don't know. There just wasn't enough, even with it being similar, like the writing, it wasn't funny in ways that I wanted it to be. In summary, I don't need to continue to talk around in circles about a book that I DNF'd. I DNF'd Diavola. I still gave it 3 stars to be fair because, again, there was nothing that I could really pinpoint. And because of that, I felt like it was unfair to give it less than 3 stars. But yeah, to be honest, it wasn't for me. And I DNF'd it at 30% in. Okay, so to do like a little recap though, a new favorite, Murder Road by Simone St. James. Loved this book. Very, very close behind, like a nanometer behind, or nano, I don't know, I don't do nano stuff, but anyways, very small distance away was Where Sleeping Girls Lie. I love this book. If you get anything from this video, you need to read both of these books. They're amazing. They live up to what they're supposed to be. Both of them are exactly what they set out to be and do. Good plot twist. They're not too much. They're going to be in my favorites of the year. Even with this, I don't know, the more I think about this, I might have to move this to a new favorite. This just was so good. And for once, a book set out to do exactly what it said it was going to do. Yes. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do want to give a very special thank you to the Mostly Ghosted crew for supporting my channel every month through the channel membership. If you're interested in supporting my channel in another way and getting some extra benefits like voting on content that I do, a separate Discord community, a hangout with me every month, a book club every other month, we do a lot of really fun things over at the Mostly Ghosted crew. So if you're interested in joining that, the link will be down below. And then I do need to say a very special thank you to you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.